are a number of requirements that need to be met before an individual can actually be sponsored, and these can differ depending on the route that they've been sponsored under as well. So for a skilled worker, for example, what do these requirements look like?
So the two key requirements for the role before you sponsor a skilled worker is that the role must meet the skills threshold and it must meet the salary threshold. And for a skilled worker, the relevant skills threshold is that the role must be at least level 3 of the regulated qualifications framework. And what that means is that the role must be skilled to at least kind of an A-level equivalent level. And that doesn't mean that the individual themselves has to hold an A-level. It just means that the role must require somebody who is skilled to at least A-level to perform it. And that's come down quite considerably. So it used to be the case that the role must be at RQF level 6 and above, which is a degree level and above role. But in January 2021, the threshold was lowered for skills to RQF level 3. And what that means is that there are now a much broader range of roles that are suitable for sponsorship under the skilled worker route than was previously the case. So that's the kind of skills requirement. The salary requirement is that the role must meet the general salary threshold, which is currently £26,200 per annum. And if there is a higher going rate for the role, then it must also meet the higher going rate. And the going rate is attributed to the role depending on which occupation code it's in, and those vary significantly. But you need to make sure that the role is going to comply with both the general salary threshold and, if it's higher, the going rate for the role. There are some circumstances in which a lower rate is applicable, and that might be, for example, if the individual is a new entrant into the labour market, if they hold a PhD qualification which is relevant to the role, if they hold a PhD in a STEM subject which is relevant to the role, or if they're coming in to do a certain shortage occupation role, then there are lower salary thresholds that apply. But it's important that those are met nevertheless. And there are additional requirements that apply to the individual when they come to apply for their skilled worker visa. So there's a financial requirement, and under the skilled worker route, there's an English language requirement where the individual has to evidence that they are at least level B1 of the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, and that they can speak, understand, write that English to that level.
Great. And so for people applying under the senior or specialist worker route, are there different requirements?
Yes, the requirements are different. So the skills threshold under the senior or specialist worker route is actually higher. So the skills threshold there is level 6 of the RQF, which means that the role must be skilled at degree level or above. Again, that doesn't mean that the individual has to actually hold the degree unless it's a specific requirement for the role, but just that the role needs to be skilled at that level or above. Also, the salary requirements are actually higher. So under the senior specialist worker route, the general salary threshold is £45,800. And again, where the going rate for the particular role is higher, you must meet the going rate. And also, it's not possible to have a reduction on that general salary threshold because of certain attributes of the individual or the role in the same way it is as a skilled worker route.
And are the visa requirements the same for the individual applying?
So the key difference in the visa requirements are that the individual under the skilled worker route has to meet the English language requirement, and there is no English language requirement for the senior or specialist worker. Other than that, the process for application for the visa is pretty much the same.
So how did the Home Office consider that these requirements have been met?
So the employer needs to assign a certificate of sponsorship to the individual before the individual can apply for their visa. And in that certificate of sponsorship, various details need to be disclosed by the employer. So things like the job duties that the individual will be employed to do, the annual salary attributable to the role, the hours of work, and which standard occupation code the role falls within. And the Home Office will assess all of this as part of the application for the certificate of sponsorship.
If you'd like any further information on the points that we've discussed, please feel free to contact myself or Shabana on the contact details that you can see on your screen, or you can find our details on the Walker Morris website.